It's the ultimate portable protein, the go-to snack for road trips, hiking adventures, and late-night gaming sessions. Americans consume approximately $1.5 billion worth of jerky every year, turning what started as a Native American preservation technique into a massive industry. But what most people don't realize about that chewy strip of meat in your gas station snack aisle is that making perfect jerky requires more precision than most people's cooking. What you're about to discover isn't just another meat processing story. It's about how turning fresh beef into shelf-stable jerky involves removing 75% of the meat's weight while keeping it safe to eat for months without refrigeration. The real challenge here isn't just drying out meat. It's controlling moisture, salt, and temperature so precisely that a single miscalculation can turn premium beef into expensive leather. Or, worse, create conditions for dangerous bacteria to thrive. Today, we're going inside the factories where ancient preservation meets modern food science, where timing mistakes measured in minutes can ruin entire batches, and where the difference between tender, flavorful jerky and tough, inedible strips comes down to understanding the science of dehydration. So grab your favorite flavor. We're about to explore how one of humanity's oldest food preservation methods became a billion-dollar industry. Every piece of jerky starts with whole muscle cuts of beef, typically eye of round, bottom round, or top round. Lean cuts with minimal fat content. Fat doesn't dehydrate well and can go rancid during storage. So jerky manufacturers look for cuts that are at least 95% lean. The beef arrives at processing facilities in massive refrigerated trucks, with each shipment inspected for quality, color, and marbling. Unlike steaks where some fat is desirable, jerky production requires meat so lean it would be considered tough and flavorless for regular cooking. The meat selection process is so specific that jerky manufacturers often work directly with cattle ranchers to ensure the right fat content and muscle structure. The selected cuts get trimmed of any remaining fat, connective tissue, and silver skin by skilled butchers who can process hundreds of pounds per hour. This trimming process is critical because even small amounts of fat can create rancid flavors and reduce shelf life from months to weeks. Here's something that might blow your mind. It takes about 3 to 4 pounds of fresh beef to make just 1 pound of finished jerky. That expensive bag of jerky suddenly makes a lot more sense when you realize how much meat goes into it. The trimmed meat then gets sliced into strips, and this is where precision really matters. The strips need to be exactly the right thickness, typically 1/4 inch, because thicker pieces won't dry properly and thinner pieces become too brittle. Most commercial operations use specialized slicing machines that can cut hundreds of pounds of meat into perfectly uniform strips in minutes, ensuring consistent drying times across every batch. Raw meat strips go into massive tumbling machines that look like cement mixers, but are designed for food processing. These tumblers can hold thousands of pounds of meat and seasoning, mixing everything together with gentle rotation that ensures even distribution without damaging the meat fibers. The marinade is a carefully engineered solution that includes salt for preservation, sugar for flavor balance, and sodium nitrite for color retention and additional safety. The salt concentration is critical, typically around 2 to 3% of the meat's weight, which is enough to inhibit bacterial growth, but not so much that it makes the jerky inedibly salty. Different flavors require different marination times and techniques. Teriyaki jerky might marinate for 8 to 12 hours to allow the sweet soy-based flavors to penetrate, while pepper jerky might only need 4 to 6 hours since the spices primarily coat the surface. The tumbling action helps break down muscle fibers slightly, making the final product more tender, while ensuring the marinade reaches every surface. Temperature control during marination is crucial. Too warm and bacteria can grow. Too cold and the flavors won't penetrate properly. By the end of marination, the meat has absorbed not just flavors, but also the preservatives and salts that will keep it safe during the drying process and long-term storage. The marinated meat strips get loaded onto racks and wheeled into massive dehydration chambers that look like walk-in ovens. These aren't just hot air blowers. They're precisely controlled environments that manage temperature, humidity, and airflow to remove moisture while preventing bacterial growth. The drying process typically takes 6 to 12 hours at temperatures between 145 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature range is critical. Hot enough to kill harmful bacteria and remove moisture quickly, but not so hot that it cooks the meat or makes it tough and brittle. The first few hours are crucial because this is when the meat is most vulnerable to bacterial growth. The surface needs to dry quickly to create a protective barrier, while the interior moisture slowly migrates outward. Airflow patterns are designed to prevent hot spots and ensure every piece of meat experiences the same drying conditions. Modern jerky facilities use computer-controlled systems that monitor the weight loss of sample pieces throughout the drying process. When the samples reach exactly 75% weight loss, the entire batch is done. No guesswork involved. Quality control technicians check batches every hour, testing for proper texture, moisture content, and food safety parameters. What emerges from the dehydrators are strips of meat that have been transformed from perishable protein into shelf-stable snacks that can last for months without dehydration. Before any jerky gets packaged, it goes through rigorous testing that would make a laboratory proud. Every batch gets tested for moisture content, salt levels, and bacterial safety. The texture is evaluated to ensure it's chewy but not tough, and flavor panels taste test for consistency. The most critical test is the water activity measurement. This determines how much moisture is available for bacterial growth. Jerky must have a water activity below 0.85, and most commercial operations target 0.75 to 0.80 for maximum safety and shelf life. Pathogen testing looks for dangerous bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella, while shelf life studies simulate months of storage to ensure the product remains safe and tasty throughout its intended lifespan. Metal detectors scan every piece to ensure no equipment fragments made it into the final product, and visual inspections remove any pieces that don't meet appearance standards. Only jerky that passes all these tests makes it to packaging, typically about 99% of production. But that 1% rejection rate represents thousands of pounds of product that gets discarded to maintain safety standards. The packaging process for jerky requires special considerations because the product needs to stay fresh for months while being handled, shipped, and stored at room temperature. Most jerky gets packaged in multi-layer films that provide barriers against oxygen, moisture, and light, all enemies of long-term storage. Many operations use nitrogen flushing, where oxygen gets replaced with nitrogen gas before sealing. This prevents oxidation that could cause rancid flavors and extends shelf life significantly. Some premium jerky brands use vacuum packaging, but this can actually crush the delicate meat fibers if not done carefully. The packaging materials themselves are engineered for jerky's specific needs. The films must be strong enough to prevent punctures from sharp meat edges, flexible enough to conform to irregular shapes, and have the right permeability to maintain optimal moisture levels. Some jerky packages include small oxygen absorber packets that continue removing oxygen even after packaging, extending shelf life from 12 months to over 18 months. The final packages are designed to protect what's essentially a piece of preserved meat that can survive in your backpack, glove compartment, or pantry for over a year while maintaining its flavor and safety. What started as a survival food for Native Americans and pioneers has evolved into a sophisticated snack industry with dozens of flavors and styles. From traditional peppered beef to exotic flavors like sriracha and bourbon, jerky manufacturers are constantly innovating while maintaining the fundamental preservation principles. The industry has also expanded beyond beef to include turkey, pork, salmon, and even plant-based alternatives that mimic the texture and protein content of traditional jerky. And here's something interesting for the future. Some companies are experimenting with freeze-drying and other advanced preservation techniques that could create even more convenient and nutritious portable proteins. So the next time you tear open a bag of jerky, remember that you're enjoying the result of both ancient preservation wisdom and modern food science. From careful meat selection to precise dehydration control, every chewy strip represents a perfect balance of flavor, safety, and shelf stability. What's your go-to jerky flavor? Are you a classic peppered person, or do you go for the more adventurous flavors? Drop your jerky preferences in the comments below. And if this video made you appreciate the science behind your favorite portable protein, hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating food manufacturing stories. Thanks for watching.